Salutations, respected viewers. This is George from Ireland. I listen to a lot of right-wing American discourse, Stephen Crowder, Ben Shapiro, others who don't rate such an honourable mention, and I sometimes concur with these gentlemen. Who else? Tomi Lahren, but sometimes I think they're not really on the money. They often lambast socialism. I'm not a socialist either. And they often cite North Korea as the ultimate example of just how badly wrong socialism can go. And North Korea is not socialist per se, it's actually communist. So it's the furthest extreme of socialism. But I'm going to suggest to you that North Korea is really not as communist as we're led to believe. Now, I know communism can be terrible, but communism is supposed to be about community, about sharing things and so on. But I can see why some right-wing Americans might feel actually rather at home in North Korea and would greatly admire it, which is why their idol, Donald Trump, who does he adore? Which world leader? Not the Canadian Prime Minister, not the British Prime Minister, not the President of France or any of America's traditional allies. No, it's Kim Jong-un, the North Korean despot. So there's such wealth inequality in North Korea that right-wing Americans would be elated. And almost all the wealth is in the hands of a single family, the way they'd like to see it. So that, in a sense, is hyper-capitalism. They worship the leader, which Trump would like to see. And who is their president? The eternal president, who died in 1994, the only country in the world to have a dead man as the head of state. So people say that it's an atheist state, but it's not really, because they have had their founder leader undergo an apotheosis. Right? He is the deified Kim Il-sung. There's no namby-pamby concern for human rights here in this country. They don't care what the United Nations says. They don't care what any international court says. North Korean exceptionalism. And many of these ultra-right Americans believe in exceptionalism for their country too. Though at times their government has lectured North Korea on how to behave better. And actually, the US government was right to do that. So the United States has Guantanamo Bay. Now, North Korea's got many Guantanamo Bays, if you will. We could lock them up, throw away the key, and there's no need to have a trial. It'd be far too dangerous to have a trial. We cannot jeopardize national security by allowing these people to have trials. We can kidnap them from neighboring countries, people from Japan and so on, because we don't need to bother with extradition. They certainly got school prayer because of they're obviously worshipping the eternal president. And as for right to carry guns, well, they're obliged to carry guns. Every man and woman has done military service, so that's another thing. They certainly believe in strong defence, spending a huge proportion of the budget on defence, having loads of nuclear weapons, and they like showing them off. So chauvinism, jingoism, militarism, eat your heart out, ultra-nationalism, and continuous self-congratulation about just how mighty they are. So megalomania on a grand scale. They're certainly very tough on crime, and their enthusiasm for the death penalty, well, that would outdo perhaps any American Republican. There's child malnutrition, the sort of thing that wouldn't bother a Republican in the United States at all. Millions of people died of famine in the 90s, but obviously that's their fault for being lackadaisical. No handouts, we mustn't do that. And North Korea does not suffer from a fake news media. They have a very firm attitude to this. Enemies of the people. Journalists who say anything that's disobliging about the leader are enemies of the people. There are no uncongenial reports, so far as the president there thinks, or the head of state there thinks. And so that's why I think a lot of these American Republicans ought to move to North Korea. They would find it very much to their taste. I am, of course, being slightly flippant in that these American Republicans, they usually don't want to restrict freedom of expression that much. There'll be a law against flag desecration in North Korea that some Republicans in the USA would like to see. And North Korea does stamp on Christianity. And obviously, American Republicans would be sickened by that. But it's just another religion that dominates North Korea, not Christianity. And again, in fairness to American Republicans, I don't know any of them who actually want to outlaw other religions. However, the parallels are striking. Despite supposedly being ideologically the opposite end of the spectrum, these two are more similar than either of them would care to admit.